right, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Drink of Ages Radio Show here on ESPN 97.5. I'm John Denman. He's Tom Painter.
I am.
DJ Muskratch is back here, hanging out, recording all this stuff.
First show of the new year.
First show of the new year. Dan Morgan behind the cameras, if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, first show of the new year. We took a break last week because
we needed it.
We needed it. New Year's, well, it was good. Let's just say it was good. And then the second week of New Year's was probably even better. So, but here we are. We're back.
I was recovering from New Year's as a multiple day recovery, and I was like, "Is someone gonna make the call? Are we making the call? Is there a show happening this week? Is there like?" And I was like, "I'm ready for it, but I'm not." And then when that call never happened, I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Well, I mean, the show must go on. So regardless of the situation, but every once in a while a break is good. And so last week I took last week off, but now we're hanging out at Fortress BeerWorks in Spring.
Yeah, and we're up here. There's nothing much to talk about with these guys the past year.
Not much going
at all.
Boring. We'll introduce everybody. We have John O'Hara, Chris Gray, and Steven Trelevin.
Trelevin.
Whatever. If it wasn't such an odd name, it would be pronounceable.
Well, that's maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having
Trelevin.
us. Yeah.
That works too, though.
There
I
you
like
go.
that.
I know. Actually, that's what you need on the back of your jersey.
I need
right?
a jersey, yeah.
I think it's just trees, isn't it?
That's
everybody
a
just call you
nickname.
Trees?
Yeah, that's
Trees?
true. Yeah. Makes it easier. Yeah.
It is weird. I mean, by the end of the show, I always start off actually getting names right, and then by the end, John O'Hara is going to be something else, and it's like, Chris. Nope, that's not what I call you. It'll be something new. Yeah, Fortress BeerWorks, Spring, Texas, just north of Houston, just a little bit. Pretty badass spot you got here. First time out here, and it's. I hate to admit that it's my first time coming out here because I've probably driven past it a bunch of times.
Shame.
But I also drove past it coming here. So yeah,
It's a turn.
I mean, people always like, oh, I couldn't find it, and I was like, but you'll never miss it again now that you've been here, right?
Once you've been here, yes.
You gotta make a Fast and Furious style turn.
Yeah, we don't have great lighting on our sign.
Do you have a sign?
We do. Yeah, we do.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
There is a sign.
We had this big plan for lights and a new sign, and then COVID derailed that.
Again, COVID. Can't put up
I blame
sign.
everything. Supply chain and COVID,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Supply chain and COVID. Can we cuss on here? Or we just be careful.
Well, I mean, eventually it'll be edited for the ESPN, but speak your mind.
No. I just want to.
I mean, sometimes there's only one way to describe something.
But we are here at Fortress BeerWorks in Spring. It's a pretty exciting place. You guys have had quite the year because so we actually, I think the last time we interviewed you guys, and this is almost interviewed you guys by extension, is we were talking to Misfit.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
That
over
was,
House of Blues.
That was probably. Was that during COVID?
It was the
COVID-ish.
2-3 years of COVID. Yeah.
Yes.
The decade
Time
of COVID.
doesn't mean anything anymore.
Shout out Brandon McDermott Band.
Yes, always good.
Yes, yeah. That was a cool event, by the way.
It was fun. Man. Yeah, it was a fun little show.
Yeah.
Back in the, had our little house stay at House of Blues for a little while.
Yeah.
And it was a good time.
And that's when you guys did the great experiment of fostering, encouraging, like a small brewery, and now it seems like you guys have fostered, encouraged another very small brewery, a young buck on the block.
It's spiraled. What is that you call it? It's spiraled out of control. No, it's the Misfit thing. We've inherited a bunch of permitting issues, which we're kind of working through, but it's far from dead. I think it's going to be a pretty big redevelopment. It'll be a cool spot. But then, the B-52 thing kind of came up. Kind of came up, and again, without diving into macro thoughts on craft beer in Houston, it's cool place, cool brewery. I thought it was. If you would have said, hey, there's 5 breweries that you could have an opportunity to pick up in Houston, it's for sure on that list, right?
Oh, definitely. It's one
sure.
of the, there's a top 5 just tap rooms. That's not just a normal brewery.
That's
it's
a
an
good
experience.
list.
Yeah,
on
and
there.
no label. You know, I think it's a short list. What I would call successful breweries that are cool, and yeah. So I think the kind of a crazy story how we got there. We started the discussion early this year, and then it kind of went to market for a couple of reasons, right? And which we fully get. It was a pretty prized asset, I would say.
There's a lot of breweries in town. And we talked about this before the show. There's been a lot of people that have been looking to. B52 has its own story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
their tap room is incredibly unique, and there's been a lot of people that have been trying to like help it out or attach themselves to it, foster it, create a. And John and I have our own stories, like Spin on Tap and No Label. At one point, like we, tried to pull this thing off. COVID happened. And that was like 27 years ago, and then it's nice that the brewery finally has because the thing is about the whole misfit situation, which isn't really misfit, it's more the property itself, right?
Yeah, it's for sure.
But you guys also kind of got attached to Nomad Barbecue,
Yep.
and now Nomad Barbecue seems to be like finding its way into potentially everything else.
I hope so, right?
I would think so.
The story is probably not a different one than what you guys do over at No Label, right? I think there's a lot of reasons to make it, especially we talked about before this, the challenges in the industry, right? And what you need to do to kind of survive. And everybody thinks it's this, I'm just going to throw a bunch of tanks in and brew beer, and I'm going to drink beer all the time. I'm going to make money, and it's far from that, as you know, right?
Money?
Yeah.
Wait, what industry are we talking about?
Is that the point of this?
That's your full-time job, right? Like oil and gas or something?
making
I just
beer.
assume because
Yes.
it's the only way
Yes,
this
and
works.
it's the only way this works, right? I think all the brewers in town are made up of NASA and oil and gas guys, right? Trying to get sick of their day-to-day engineering job. Yeah, so I think
Oof, that's throwing shade at Valencin's
Right.
anomaly. And
long
long list. Hold on.
I'm
let
about
me-
to say I can,
I have an Excel sheet on my phone for all.
right? No doubt. Yeah, so we man, and I think for a lot of reasons it made sense for us. And again, so Chris kind of introduced people, right? Chris runs the day-to-day at B52, has for a couple of years. And I'll let him go to he's brewed at Stone and a bunch of other breweries. And he got kind of hung up in COVID, opening a brewery in Austin. Got hung up in Celis stuff there and COVID stuff there. And then I worked in my day job with Chris's brothers, so there was kind of a tie there. Steven was the assistant brewer at B52. When we were opening, the year we were kind of getting ready to open, he would spend every Saturday derailing us from building bars and those kind of things in
Bothering you, yeah.
2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of like weird kind of
Organic.
organic
Yeah,
stuff
organic.
that happened,
Oh.
I would
Sure.
say. And man, I'm still a big believer in the kind of Houston craft beer market. I think it's going to go through. It's been turmoil and it's going to go through turmoil. Man, I'm still bullish on it. I think there's still a bunch of great places in town, and our beer is better than it's ever been. I think as a
whole.
industry.
Yeah,
As
an
an industry, not as a 3 brewery.
No.
barbecue empire.
I'm not. No, I think empire is such a loose term. No, I think just like you can now go in Houston and be proud of beers
Oh, for sure.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and which I think that wasn't the case 7 years ago. I mean, again, man, not to honk horns, but like No Label's a different brewery than it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would
work.
say I definitely bought some Don Jalapeno first season back in the day, but I would never have thought to buy a No Label 6-pack, right? 5 years ago, if I'm in HEB and I'm walking by, it's for sure like, oh yeah, hey, let me grab one, right? So I think that's not just No Label. I think that's a bunch of breweries.
It is a whole lot of breweries, yeah. I mean, you see a lot of breweries open up, and they just want to get product out there, right? And it always amazes me when go there and they're really proud of it, like, hey, yeah, come drink this beer, and you get over there and you drink it, and it's like, this is what you want to put out in the market, right? It's like this. There's like 85 more beers better than this, or at least be semi close to that. And like I said, man, over the years that has definitely changed. But Craft Brewers Guild made a big push about, like, okay, we need to talk about quality, not just quantity, and really start pushing making good, like better, cleaner beers and all that. And so a lot of breweries, not only you get a better brewer in there that's actually making better beer, and which a lot of people did. But they also had to really rethink about what they're doing. Sorry,
agree.
man.
I agree.
I don't even know what I just said.
Well,
Is October?
This beer's good.
October? Yeah, I know.
I think there's something to be said about just letting brewers brew beer, and the market. So we were talking about this before the show. The show about just walk into a store and just being like a sea of brands, and we know what we're looking for, and yet it is still the sea of colors and brand. Like what sticks out, and how does it stick out, and we've had a lot of conversations on the show just about distro versus tap rooms, and how you need to invest in this a crazy tap room community space. And B52 is a good one.
Good.
I feel like, I don't know. I think you guys would
Yeah.
agree. I think it for sure is.
You got to let John know when camping night is, because
That was all part of the plan.
So
Camping at the brewery.
There's funny you say that. So there's a Wildflyer. You know that place? It's in towards Navasota, Whitehall.
Yeah.
And it's got these. I went out there actually with Brent and Jessica, the kind of previous owners of B52. I didn't know well before, but I've gotten to know very well, obviously, through the last year. Got a ton of time for, and that, without them, the B52 is not there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of crazy story around kind of what happened. But we went to that Wildfire, and they have these glamping tents. Mm-hmm. They're kind of half wood, half. So I don't want to put these they're these glamping. I say glamping tents. They have AC units or whatever. And I want to put those along
little
that
mini apartments.
The mini
that's just
apartments. I
in
want those along
canvas.
the tree line. I was like, dude, that's killer.
Yeah.
Chris is like, no, I don't want to be a hotel
Yeah.
manager, right? But yeah, it's the whole glamping thing, because I think it does come more important. It's man, what food are you putting on site? What are we?
it's such a unique property, and you can understand why a lot of breweries from Houston and Dallas and everywhere in between would want to kind of chase it, because it is an hour out of Houston, but then it's also an hour closer to everything else.
Yep.
And it's just,
You're
it's a large
you're-
space.
you're
It's incredibly unique.
5 minutes from the lake.
Yep.
There's extra land that hasn't even started to be cleared yet. I had a buddy. He's like, RV park. I'm like, maybe.
I think, funny enough, the 20 acres right next door was going to be a high-end RV, lake camping, and I think that deal fell through. But yeah, that's the it's a cool spot, man. I'm a believer in that place, right?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Or not just personal. It's, it's business oriented, but it's about B52.
Yeah.
And if you guys can't answer it, then we'll
No,
we'll edit it out of the show.
I'm an open book, transparent, whatever you want to call it.
So, because we're in the same boat
Yep.
over at No Label, we've taken on a legacy that we did not start, right? But this is something that we have fully taken on. We're not partners on anything. We've just here we are. How are you guys, or have you put any thought to it on how you guys honor what's come before?
I feel like that's a very good question, fair question. Get ready to edit me, muskrat, whatever. I would say our intent was not to fuck up what was good there, right?
Yeah.
So our kind of model here is, man, the intent is, and this is not everybody. It's very well known in the industry that you guys kind of were looking at. St. Arnold was going to probably flip it into a barrel place and whatever for St. Arnold. I felt, and then
I thought it was a Typhoon, Texas, St. Arnold.
Put some water slides from top trees. So I felt like it was important that it stayed B52, right? Now you want to argue if we want to bring back some B52 logo imagery, whatever. I'm listening to that, but I felt like it was very important that it keeps its own brand. And again, don't let me step on, or us step on, what that place is, right? We don't want to fuck it up. It's successful. It's a cool place. It's got its own unique culture. The culture, I talk about Slack and Teams and the Slack, and now I get on the Slack, and the culture is killer there, right? And man, I work in my day job in the corporate world, and you kind of know some of this stuff, Tom. We do a lot of acquisitions, and the tendency is to fuck it up, right? What we didn't want to do is fucking
You
up.
do a lot of acquisitions, you say.
So, yeah, and it's like, so
Have you ever heard about this brewery No Label? Right. On the West End.
we
Go
don't-
ahead and get another one of those.
We
top
don't- we
five.
don't-
that digesting.
we don't have deep enough pockets for that spot, right? So yeah, I think it's important to like, how do you maintain that? How do you not screw it up?
Yep.
So our very much our approach was, we're gonna we might P&L might roll up to us, but it's B52 as a brewery is not going to change, and I think that was important.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's awesome, and that's certainly what we kind of had a, it's like you're trying to make things work, and
Yep.
but recently, and this is just a no label admission of it's like I need to figure out a way to make sure that people that come to the brewery know about Brian and Jen Arroyo, or
The
whether I put
founders,
like a
like,
plaque or
where we
something.
came
I'm trying
from.
to
Yeah.
there has to be a place
Like a
somewhere
little
because-
history timeline.
So
sort of
actually,
thing.
well, no, that's a good. You set them up, I'll knock them down. There is a garden that was planted. If anybody knows B52, if you've been there, there's kind of the container bathrooms, and on the side there's like elephant ear plant. Anyway, it's a garden, right?
Yeah.
And Pam planted that.
Oh.
Who's now gone, right? That's Brent and Chad's mom. So that's going to be Pam's garden, right? And then there's a lot of that, I think, there.
Okay.
And so part of that was to try and say, all right, this is going to be Pam's garden. We're going to put a little deal up, and then that's Pam's garden.
Yep.
And it kind of tells the story. I think there's a lot of Chad and Brent stories still there, right?
Sure.
And I think it's important to honor that too. And that's why, they'll probably yell at me, and Chris for sure yell at me. And I'm a big fan of kind of throwback. I'm an Astros guy, right? So I like throwback. I love the kind of B52 imagery stuff. You're a marketing guy, Tom. I think there's a place for that, right? And to say that, kind of not, and I don't want to go back to away from what's kind of cool today, but I think there's a place for the B52 bomber.
Oh, I
And
agree.
I think there's a place for
Yeah.
that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
and so I think
the old shirts. I still have the old shirt. It was just a B-52
so,
bomber.
yeah, I think
just good
Brent,
looking.
man, and Brent's in Utah right now. Shout out Brent, and we still talk. Brent and Jessica, and then Ron, his dad's still around and still comes to the brewery, and so I think it's super important. I think I do think that's super important.
Yeah.
And I think you can do little things that I hope preserve that legacy, right? Man,
Yeah.
they're like the number. I
mean,
fifth brewery in Houston, fourth brewery in Houston,
Yeah.
right? And
like you're sitting on a bunch of history, and like you just it's weird because you become like a steward. I feel like that's what I am. Like if someone we're growing it, but we're also it's ours, but it's not.
yeah. No, I agree, and I agree.
I mean, you just have to remind everybody of the legacy, where your roots are and where you came from.
And a lot of new people don't see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what Brent and Chad were.
You're a
7
colonizer.
years ago, right? colonizer, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I
Spring.
think the first thing when people panicked, right, is like, oh, Fortress BeerWorks brought bought B52. Man, we were not trying to. It's a bigger brewery. Let's be honest, right? It's a bigger brewery with a more established culture, all that. And these guys will tell you that, and Gio back behind the bar and all these people. We are adopting a ton of things from there here, not vice versa.
Yeah.
Because, man, I got so much respect for that place, right? And kind of what was built. And again, Tom will appreciate this, right? It's like it's a running. So many breweries in Houston are still kind of mom and pop driven, and that people work in the business and all this. B52, I would say, is probably one of 7 or 8 in Houston that runs like a business. Like, the owner doesn't have to be standing there for things to get done,
Right.
because of people like Chris and Steven. And I think that is such a huge place where most breweries need to be driving towards, because otherwise they get burned out, and
I
we
mean,
end
not
up the
just
place where it
breweries, any business, right?
Any business.
Any business.
Yes. So, yeah, I think,
I think also the fact that you guys are between just on the retail side of.
We gotta take a break.
I know.
we're rolling
Cut it my stretch.
Yeah, time to take a break and refill some beers. When we get back, we'll talk more with everybody over here. All right, we are back on. This is Drink of Ages radio show here on ESPN 97.5. Tom Painter, I'm John Denneman. We are hanging out at Fortress BeerWorks in Spring. and guest John O'Hara, Chris Gray, and Steven Trelevin hanging out. Tell you, man,
Trelevin.
Trelevin.
98% there.
Well, Trelevin, I forgot
Trelevin,
we're Texas, so it's
Trelevin.
Trelevin.
Trey Levin. That was
Trelevin.
That's how you say it.
Yes.
Yep.
And some beers have been poured.
A lot of So what exactly are we pouring in the glasses now?
And which
This
brewery
is
is this
our
from?
tried and true B52 breakfast stout,
Breakfast stout.
which has been on the menu for a long time. So,
Yep.
yep.
And I have some old bottles from B52, quite a bit actually, that I need to probably
How old?
2014, 2015, stuff like that.
So
some
the old
Doppelbock.
bottle style.
And
You should see these faces. And if they're on YouTube, you are.
you did see the faces.
Are they
Yes.
like the Brett double IPAs and stuff?
No, I don't have any of those. I didn't
Okay.
save those.
Okay.
No, it's more. Of
Drank
the-
those.
Yeah,
This-
drink
the,
those.
The stouts and stuff. Is that what you have? Okay.
Some of the stouts.
Okay.
Bourbonators.
Nice.
I think you
I
brought
do
it.
have
We,
some
we, we
bourbon.
have a bourbonnator.
I brought a
that's the next one in the
2022
queue.
Bourbonnator.
Oh.
Yes.
That
Next
beer
one in the
was
queue.
always delicious.
Yeah. We'll get there.
We'll get
You guys have
there.
a couple bottles to pass around, so.
So Fortress, though. Let's talk about Fortress for a little bit.
Yeah, let's do
because
it.
You're on this little. Again, like I said, I passed it up. Driving down, what was that, Luetta? What street is?
We're Spring Cypress.
Spring Cypress.
Spring
That's it.
Cypress, and we're right in between.
Everything looks like Luetta.
That
to you,
road over
John.
there, which it used to not be able to see, but it's 2920 and Spring Cypress, basically, where it
Okay.
comes into 45. The
Yeah.
heart of spring,
Heart of
Spring,
Spring.
Texas.
Splashtown.
Basically. Close. Very close.
And I don't know when the last time you guys went to Splashtown.
I was a
It's
kid.
been about 20 years.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a kid.
Yeah.
At least.
97.
How
maybe.
old am I? Yeah.
It's been a long time. But last time I was there was just a lot of kids in diapers. And you're like, I don't want to see kids in diapers at
Yeah.
water parks, man. It's just, put a bathing suit on that. You know, just
Yeah.
not, I don't know. Maybe it's different now. But I remember I was like, yeah, we don't have to come back here. Typhoon, Texas. I'm sure.
Yeah, Typhoon, Texas is the new, the splashdown. Speaking of Typhoon, Texas, do you guys do the Wild West Brew Fest?
Funny enough, B52
We did.
this
We
year.
did, yeah.
And I was kind of cornered, and I was like, you know what? I committed to 2 different people. We're doing it next year.
This year.
This year.
Yeah.
I always forget we've slipped into 2023.
Yeah, we
so,
are
yeah,
in- we are in the
we're
future
gonna
now.
do it this year. Yeah. So, yeah, on the Fortress thing, right? Like we're 4 acres kind of here, right? Like you said, off 45, not too far from Water Park, Splash Town. We started as kind of a bunch of oil and gas guys, and it spiraled, and that's a whole different story. Pretty traditional.
You guys are in it now.
No doubt, right? And it's so we tend to lean kind of traditional beers. We kind of got overwhelmed over the last couple of years, and just we probably took on too much. And B52, the whole B52 thing, kind of swallowed 2022. So we're super excited, and that my business partner Dion, who's not here, but man, he's been doing 40-hour, 50-hour work weeks in his day job, and then doing brewing every weekend for 4 years. So I would say it probably meant that we were just trying to keep up. You know, we did probably 750, 800 barrels, almost all those out of the tap room in 2022. So a big part of the B52 thing was it allowed us to kind of share resources. And one of those is for sure Steven Trelevin. Tree leaving.
Tree living.
I know.
Yeah,
Tree
you
leaving.
nailed it, dude.
I kid. It's Trelevin, and we call him Trees. So we're super excited because we had a relationship with him before. And so now he gets to come in, and we have a brewer now that is not a weekend brewer, right? So it's the first time in 3.5, almost 4 years that we have we're turning into a growed-up business, right, where we have a real brewer, right?
Yeah.
And I say that, and this is not to denigrate Dion by any means, just a guy who's here every day, all day, and that's his focus, right? So, so we're super excited to have Steven. This is This is kind of my intro to this has not been announced publicly. I've got a couple of pretty groovy pictures we're gonna post. So we have actually,
Shoot.
ironically enough,
I want to see these pics.
funny enough, have two new brewers. One a new brewer at B52 that I'll let maybe Chris talk to. But Steven, is now officially, as of really January 1st, he's kind of started moving to the role. But he'll start to put his touch, I would say, on what we do here brewing wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Super
guy
pumped to do it.
deserves every bit of it. I mean, like, for the past couple of years, Steven has been one of the most reliable people I've ever worked with, and just super interested in every aspect of brewing and just learning everything he possibly can. So, yeah, I'm super excited to have him here for Fortress. Yeah.
Well, thank you, both of you guys. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to do it and be a part of it. And like John said earlier, kind of the organic. I live in the area, and we started coming up here, me and some buddies, and we see a brewery pop up, and we're gonna go visit these guys. And then so they're nailing stuff in boards and hanging stuff up, and we bother them and bring them some bottles to open, and then we mess up the rest of their day because we brought all these bottles to open.
Of course.
And
They're
then,
like,
so-
okay, fine, I'll
Yeah,
stop what
all
I'm
right,
doing and come
we're
drink
done
a
for
beer
the
with
day.
you.
It's noon. Yeah. And I've just been taking in a lot of information over the past few years. Ian, our brewer at B52, has taught me a ton. He's moving on now to a new adventure. But I got a lot of information from him. I had been studying beer for a few years before that. I have a few certifications and stuff, BJCP judge, certified cicerone. So
CPR.
So I kind of came into it kind of book knowledge-y type way, and then I got into the physical brewing thing. So it was a big eye-opener for me going into the commercial brewery, like seeing things happen. And so I learned a lot, and I'm excited to keep going, and I'm pumped to do some stuff here. Just had my first brew 2 days ago and here at Fortress, so ready to pump out some new fresh beers.
Sound
man.
like-
so,
yeah,
I'm
they-
ready
3
to
weeks
do it.
from now, I get to come over and try your beer.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think he actually kind of brewed with Juan from Misfit doing a new
did,
batch
he
of
did.
Northwest Corridor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it is a fun industry, and making beer is exciting. I mean, I think homebrewing is one of the best hobbies anyone can have in the history of mankind. Yeah, and then I don't know, I think we were talking about kolaches earlier. But
I feel like that would be a pretty good like home hobby too.
making kolaches,
Yes.
right?
Be a
Yes.
great hobby. Yeah.
So, well, I mean, a lot of people, you start off brewing some beers at home, doing some things, and then like me personally, I brewed a couple batches, follow the recipe. It's like, man, this beer's turned out pretty damn good. Let's keep this going. I'm going to make my own, and I made my first beer I ever made by myself. Just like wrote the recipe out real quick. Tasted like you just walked out and started chewing grass. I mean, it was like the worst beer I ever had, and that's when I'm like, I probably
Drank it
should-
anyway.
Actually,
Drank it anyway.
We drank it, yeah. And my friends were like, "This is good." I'm like, "No, it's not. it's terrible." And so, and then you start like, okay, let's read. Let's actually learn how to do this. So and then you scale it up to a brewery, and it's just a whole nother animal. So I mean,
Yeah, you have to worry about cost
yes.
and shelf life.
What is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are these words?
Yeah,
that-
there's this whole other aspect to it that you have to start thinking about.
yeah. So Fortress, when did you guys open up? How long ago was that?
March 18th, the day after St. Patty's Day, 2019. And we got shut down by COVID 1 week shy of our 1 year anniversary. Good times.
Yeah.
Hell yes. I was going to say F yes, but I'd say hell yes.
But, yeah. It's supposed to be a celebratory time, and instead,
Yeah, it spiraled, man. We started, it was like Dion had been brewing in his garage for 25 years. And then we were there, and long story short, had some access to like 200 square feet of warehouse space. I was like, oh, we should take your stuff. Your beer's good. Throw it on the wall there. 7 acres, 8,000 square foot of warehouse space. And $1 million later, we're here. So it was like one of those, like,
I mean,
like, where did it
Just a
come?
hop, skip, and a
Where
jump,
did
you
it
know?
come unwound? Right?
Yeah.
It's like where you start to say, it's like, but man, I don't regret it at all. It's the best people, I would say. Man, it's the Johns and Toms of the world, and it's man, it's
Whoa! You're not running like a whorehouse over
yeah.
there.
It would probably make more money.
The Johns and the Toms.
It would. I was like, actually, that sounds like that probably is a good business model. Actually, it makes good money. Makes better money than beer.
It's certainly a great beer name. The Johns and the Toms.
So we're coming up on 4 years. It's funny how quick it kind of changes. COVID definitely throws it upside down, I would say, in that. But yeah, man, I'm proud of what we've done. Admittedly, I think we could probably be. We're probably not brewery insiders, I would say. I think maybe we're a little different in that. And actually, that's not uncommon. But we weren't like ingrained in the brewing business in Houston, so we've kind of been. We have our good friends at 11 Below and Location 6 and all these other places that I'm very close with, and we're working at kind of maybe being closer to some of the brewing brethren, because I think we need to do better at that, because I do think it's a family, and I think we probably didn't do a great job of that the first year, but we're working hard on it.
Well, I got some tips, and during the break, I'm gonna give them to you.
Just the tip. Yeah.
No, guys, actual tips. No.
Beep beep.
I mean, it's a beer show, Tom. Come on, man. There we go.
I retract the tip.
What are we drinking right now?
That is Lost Wanderer barley wine, B52.
It tasted like a good barley wine.
Yeah.
Solid, right?
It's not for the
Yeah,
faint of.
it's
It's
good,
not for the
man.
faint of heart.
I was like, "Is this bourbonate?"
Good
No,
shit.
this isn't bourbonate. But this is good.
That's not bourbon. I have Bourbonnator next.
I know. No, I see
Yeah.
it. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That ought to be called
it's waiting there.
Ubernator, because
It's waiting for the final segment.
Yeah. So anniversary, 4-year anniversary coming up.
yeah.
March.
March 18th, I
That's the
guess,
plan?
right? Like that. Yeah, that's the plan. I think our friends, Brandon McDermott. I think he penciled himself in as the music.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's our 4-year anniversary.
4 years is good.
Yeah, man, I'm not unhappy. I'll put it that way. I think the path we're on is a good one. Our people are the best. We've done, I think, a lot of things right. We got a lot of things to learn from that I think we don't. We fuck up a lot of stuff too. Let's be honest, right? So what I hope is year over year we try and course correct on things we don't do well that helps us survive, because this ain't the easiest industry.
No, it's not. But if you got it right every time, you would question that.
Yeah.
Hey, wait. This is too easy.
Yeah.
Like something bad's about to really happen. And so as long as you keep the bad stuff to a minimum and where you can control it, then yeah, man, it's all good. Last another 4 years.
Yes. God bless
There you
us.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, year 4 is something to celebrate, and then year 5 will certainly be a big one.
Yeah, you're 12, right?
We're 12, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and
Well,
then
ideally-
no one cares until
even
about
like
45.
Not
20, yeah.
Not to pivot the talk, though, but 12 is that the
said
third
earlier.
longest
Yeah.
in Houston?
It is the third longest.
I think that's saw the new logo. I like the
no one
the
cares.
slab, I like the whole thing, man. I, think I like it.
I think next year it's going to look very similar, and it's going to be like +3.
Three.
Well, no one cares. It's just like it's because you
It's
reach
anniversary.
because you reach a certain milestone, and then it's just like once you hit 10 years, it's like it's funny. John and I were talking about this recently because Backfish has
Unfortunately,
has
yeah.
closed its doors, and it's one of those things that everyone notices when you're not there. Like oh my god, I can't believe this. I'm gonna miss you, and it's just like, well, if you don't show up,
Yeah,
what
true. By the way,
happens. Yeah,
truer
that's what
words have never
happens.
been spoken.
Yeah.
It's like when you're there, no one notices. When you're not there, people go bananas, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very true statement.
I showed up when Chris at Backfish announced that he was closing down. I went over to Backfish to try to get a 10-tacker, and he was like, "Oh, everyone came and bought all the merch." And like, I'm just staring at him. I was like, "Oh, snap!" He's like, "Yeah, now they showed up."
Yeah,
Pretty much.
And I think we're all. I think the message for everyone is that there's these places that are these historical, Springs First Brewery, or you're doing this job and you mean a lot to people, but like people just need to come on out and support local because
Show the up.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's wrap this segment up, man. Let's take a break and get some. Well, I think we're doing all right on beers for now, but it's time to.
We got some Bourbon coming.
Bourbonators coming. All right, let's take a break. This is Drink of Ages Radio here on ESPN 97.5. We'll be right back. We are back. Yep.
no, you can do it.
John, this is your
Bring it.
go for it.
Which John is doing.
John, bring us in. Bring us in.
Other John.
All right, fine. We are back. This is Drink of Ages. Hope everybody's having a great night tonight. And we're hanging out here at Fortress BeerWorks. We are having a really good time, man, because, we kind of doubled up on breweries for one show.
Yeah, there's a lot of B52 beers going around. That Bourbonnator, made its appearance.
So we have John, Chris, and Steven hanging out. Go ahead, Tom. No last names?
It's a fun
Get
night.
it out.
No. We have our John and Tom's collab coming out soon to benefit the sex workers of America.
Oh, man.
I love it.
The conversations that happen in between segments. Either way, welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
No, Bourbonnator, for one, has been, it's been just one of the better beers brewed around the Houston area in a very, very long time. Traded all over the place for all kind of things, like on the other markets and stuff like that. So I have a few bottles, some old ones at home that I'm like, man, one day.
Thanks for bringing.
Today probably would have been
a great day for it, actually.
to bring those.
Yeah.
I have some old no labels bottles, some Perpetual Peace and some of the sours and stuff that is like, oh yeah, that's right, Tom. I see you 3 times a week. One day I'm going to bring that bottle. We're going to crack it open.
Yeah, it'd be good. Perpetual Peace is always good. But this is like an art that I feel like a lot more people are moving away from bottles. So it's nice to see a bottle. It's nice to see a bomber.
We're like kind of moving back towards it. It's not really like a bomber per se. It's a 500 ml bottle, but we are really trying to move closer to doing very regular barrel age releases. Hopefully on like a monthly basis, but right now it's like every 2-3 months we're releasing new bottles.
I mean, that's a pretty good schedule, honestly. Most breweries are they're like, well, it's their 10-year anniversary. Let's release a barrel-aged beer.
We're super excited about staying in business, so we want to release something once a month.
Up that a little bit, right?
We're like fired up about it.
Hey, people still get excited about releases, right? I mean, they still do.
Yeah, I think it's
certain
actually.
beers.
I would say the history of B52 is a lot of releases, right? Like, man, it was every Friday for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And go ahead, Chris. Let me preface that by Chris is running the day-to-day. He's run the day-to-day for 2 years at B52.
Yeah, I'm operations manager. I've been running the business as a whole for 2.5 years or so. And a ton of stuff has changed since I started until now. And one of the things that we pretty much had to start from scratch in 2020 with our barrel aged program. It wasn't very well managed before 2020, and so we had to dump a lot of stuff, and we pretty much had to start over. And so now we're actually starting to get into this routine of having these regular bottle releases, barrel age releases, sours, spirit barrels, all sorts of stuff. And they do really well for us, and so that way we can just continue to be releasing them on a regular basis. So,
I mean, the last time I was up there were so many beers on tap.
yeah.
A lot.
How many were there?
What, 30? Some odd.
Yeah, we don't have that many on tap.
It's
anymore.
hard for me to argue against that. I think you're right.
When was the last time you were there?
It's been, well,
1987.
1987 was a good time. Lake Conroe was happening.
It was
And, man, I remember this
a
purple
great year.
thong over at the beach club.
Fake boobs had just
Man.
gotten fucking
Let's
on
all
point.
say about it. Flashback into this.
A lot of big bright boats rolling around, jet skis, a lot of jet
Yeah,
skis.
Yeah, so we don't have like 30 beers on tap anymore. We've
okay.
consolidated
What
things
about the jet
into
skis?
we've like dialed things
Fair
in.
point.
Like, we've looked at what beers do really well and what do people
Right.
people like, and those are the things that we're focusing on. And we do one-offs. Like we'll do like a dry hop pills. We'll take breakfast out and make a s'mores breakfast out. We'll do one-offs for things like that. But we usually maintain around 15 to 20 beers on tap, which I feel
Much
like
more
is
manageable.
yeah, way more
And
manageable.
I'm aligned with what you said, John, because first I went there and it's a numbering thing with Untapped.
Yep.
And I was like, why do we have 35 beers on tap? We don't.
Not
it's
every
actually only.
tap. Not every tap.
Yes,
is
every tap is
used.
taken,
Yeah.
and so I agree with you. Like, and so like, man, how do we slim this down to get us where we have 15 really badass beers on tap?
Yeah.
Versus 30 and 10 of them are sink pour get drunk beers, right?
That's the
Right.
stuff that we took out. Right.
Yes.
We stopped doing
It's a fair question.
that. Yeah, we stopped doing that
Yeah.
type of stuff and have just been focusing on what tastes good, you know, and just do that stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, and
Kind of a weird
I
thing
mean,
to
even
say,
like a
but-
bar, right? A bar
Sure.
that you walk into in like 30 taps was pretty standard for a while, and then it like 50, 100, 150 taps. You know, it's like, no, man, there's going to be so many beers
It's
people
and
aren't drinking.
I would put this back. Is it not a 50 tap bar dead?
I would hope so, honestly.
Right? Because
They're-
you can't turn that beer fast enough,
No.
right? It's going to be either old. You can't drink them all. It's old, stale. I would say if you have 50 taps, you are 5 years ago.
I have had some really bad, really good beers from places. that I'm
Yeah.
like, no, man, this you didn't give me the right beer. Like, yes, I did. I'm like, go look at the. They went and looked at the keg, and they came back like, oh no, this really is that beer. I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
So I'll interrupt. I do think that Tom is having one of our better Fortress beers in Salvador. We're pretty proud of it. It's a
Yeah,
Mexican
it's-
lager.
yeah, it's great.
And I think Steven's proud of it. And well, he says it's good.
I like it. Yeah.
I like it.
I had one. It was good.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, it's solid.
Listen, I think there's a lot of the beer culture in Houston is moved. There was a time where it was like hazies and more like pushing the edges, but like ultimately, there's like I want to throw back a really drinkable beer with a little bit of a bite in ABV, and this kind of for me this hits all the notes.
yes.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like double, right? Because you know I want that, but then I also just want to sip on a Doppelbock.
That's it. Me. I want to have a little
or
taste
some
of this.
Bourbonnator or
Actually,
something
normally I
else.
would say I was going to have a Johnny Walker Blue, but we don't have that here.
But
whatever. We don't
yeah,
like
you know,
that,
same
yeah.
thing, right?
Different discussion.
But that
At least it's
Viking
THC,
blonde is
no,
pretty
we don't
good.
have
We
that.
don't do
Yeah,
that
I think it's
stuff.
solid.
Like
It's solid.
the Viking blonde's pretty delicious. Just,
I think it's solid.
Salvador kind of hits that. You know, like I was at a restaurant last night and I was drinking a ton of Modelo.
Good beer, by the way.
Modelo is solid, especially a Michelada Modelo. Like Michelada's done right, just like. But you know, I mean, you know, at a craft brewery, you want something that's incredibly drinkable, but you also want you're at a craft brewery, like and kind of you get that bite in the ABV.
Yeah. I mean, you just want a beer that tastes good.
Well, true.
Yeah, we started this whole thing probably about 4 years ago. It was like, man, let's just quit calling it craft beer. Let's just call it good beer. Yeah, as long as the beer is good, just call it beer. And so it's kind of dwindled down all the stuff we say before that. It was like, man, that's just a good beer.
I think. Well, I mean, you and I are kind of at odds a on some of that stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, I get the whole craft beer thing, but at the end of the day, I think there's beer that's made locally, local beer. Like there's something about going to a place that it is like, here's this brewery in Spring, or here's this brewery in Conroe, and
Or Katy.
And you go there, and like here you have someone that lives not too far away making that beer directly here, and like it's like yours. Like as a community, it's yours. Like you have it, you own it, and there's a lot of pride there. I mean, there's a reason, and this is the conversation we had outside the show, but like why we work so well with communities and with cities and stuff like that. Like part of that's like lock and step, like with breweries. Like,
Well, but look at the rest of the world that's made beer for thousands of years, and this little town has this pub. This little town has this pub. This little town has this pub. This little area
Is are breweries in Houston not becoming now bars for families, right? Day bars. And I would say, where does No Label? No Label, I think, is firmly entrenched in that in Katy, right?
They have a playground.
Playgrounds, and I think
Do they have a splashdown?
we just upgraded our playground. Thank you.
have
We have a Typhoon, Texas.
Shout out.
Away. How dare you?
Texas Typhoon, Texas. They
don't
have
you
that.
feel like it's
They do have that.
it's like this thing where you start going, we got to get a bigger slide. As No Label, we need a bigger slide. And then you look up and you have a 70-foot water slide and No Label.
I think
Coming
it's-
out of the silo.
Yes.
I think there's a line on, and I've talked to other breweries about this, right? Like because, more often than not, like breweries are becoming these family-friendly destinations, right? You guys are like open for all, right?
Yeah.
But you do
Nine dogs just barked while you said that.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
well, it's funny. So the last show we did of 2022, we were under the radar, and it was funny because there was this one guy.
Does this turn off and then it becomes like after hours? And it
Then
becomes like,
that's the after hour stuff that you can only find in certain places.
Yeah.
We don't tell you where that is.
Yeah, we put,
Yeah,
hey, Kevin puts that on dark web.
Whatever the dark web is.
He's shaking his head, but you know where it is, Kevin.
Yeah, people ask me, they're like, what is the dark web? I'm like, man, you don't want to know. You don't want to go there. But no, appreciate you guys having us out, man. It's been a whole lot of fun. I'm glad I finally made it out to the brewery, Fortress BeerWorks. Super amazing place, man. The beers are really, really good. Really good. So, I don't know, can you find it? Are you distribution?
for sure can find it at all breweries. No, and we're starting to. We're on about 150 maybe bars and restaurants across brands. Maybe 40 in Fortress and 80 in
Okay.
Yeah. Give or take.
B52.
Yeah.
So, and I think you'll see that ramp up over this year.
And also, imagine all the times that we've been able to talk to people, and they're like, "Hey, we have 150 places across brands."
Yeah, across
Locally,
brands.
it's just like you guys are pioneering this.
It's unique. It is definitely unique.
You guys are doing great things for the Northwest Corridor.
And well,
Also, there's that
eventually-
Northwest double hazy IPA.
That is-
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. No, but Fortress BeerWorks, man, appreciate you guys having us out. It's been a whole lot of fun.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of Drink Advantage Radio Show. You can listen to any of the old shows sponsored by No Label Brewing Company by going to, I don't know, Tom, all over the
I don't
place,
know,
man.
all the places. Where are we going next week?
Next week, there's a good question. I don't know.
Where is
we'll
it?
figure it out. But
You come to
you check
B52.
out?
You come to
B52.
B52.
They're going
Yeah,
to B52.
B52.
location 6. So maybe we'll be out of location 6 next week.
All I know is 2 weeks from now we'll be at Platypus, and shut up, Kevin.
You got to train the liver for that show.
Yeah.
For who?
Platypus.
Platypus.
All right. Now, appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Everybody be safe, and we'll talk to you next week.